first off, really excited to be here and really want to thank the Tecton team for organizing this event. Well, in the 10 minutes that I have here, I just really wanted to talk about Redis as an online feature store. So first off, by way of introductions, my name is Taimur Rashid. I'm the Chief Business Officer here at Redis Labs. And in my role here, I'm basically responsible for emerging businesses and new initiatives. And one of the new initiatives that I'm undertaking here is AI and machine learning. A little bit about Redis. So I don't think Redis needs any introduction, but for the benefit of the audience here, Redis is an in-memory open source database. Customers typically use it for caching, and that's where they typically start their journey as they adopt Redis. But very quickly they realize the power of Redis and they apply it towards many other use cases, be it session management, real-time database needs. In fact, even using Redis for recommendation engines, ad serving capabilities, or even real-time analytics and search, right? What we are seeing more and more, though, is Redis being used for machine learning and artificial intelligence use cases. And so at a really broad level, with Redis and AI, we really see that we can empower ML data models, but at the same time also serve as an AI serving and monitoring platform. So as I mentioned earlier, Redis is being used for a variety of different use cases in the machine learning space. And the focal point of what I want to talk about today is how it's being used as an online feature store. And just to orient the audience on the different categories here, if you start on the left-hand side, really what I've identified here is data orchestration tools effectively. And these are just a list of different tools across open source, some of the MLOps providers, and feature store providers as well, including Tecton. And you'll also see a lot of the cloud platforms from AWS, Microsoft Azure, and GCP, actually adding a lot of support for these, end-to-end machine learning ops capabilities. And all of them can effectively interact with the feature store. And if you look at, we're actually doing some work today with Willem and the Feast team on tightening the integration of Feast and Redis. And my hope is that we can work with a number of these other providers here on the left-hand side to get some native integration capability with Redis. Now, as we go to the right-hand side, you can really see the feature store being broken down into, data storage, data serving, and data monitoring. And as I mentioned before, and you've seen some examples already with some of the presenters here at the conference, Redis is being used as the online feature store, particularly in the case of DoorDash and the great work that they've done, right? And so while you can take the database, there's a variety of different things that, optimizations, if you will, that you can do on top of the feature store itself, such as, serialization, compression, and leveraging, hashes in a very particular way that can give you the high utilization of CPU, but at the same time also really reduce the latency that you have in serving those features as well. Now, what's really interesting is, while anyone can kind of take the online, the Redis database and run it as an online feature store, and they may leverage, some of the providers on the left-hand side. They may choose to do some custom engineering to support their environment. One of the things that we've actually done is to bring inferencing closer to the data. And so we have a Redis AI module, which is effectively a module designed for deep learning and machine learning. And what it effectively does, it really takes Redis and it creates a native data type. So we have tensors, models, and scripts. And when you combine that with a back-end runtime environment, such as TensorFlow, TensorFlow Lite, Onyx, or even Torch, effectively what you do is you make Redis an inferencing engine, right? And so when you look at the combined sort of value that developers and organizations can get, if they have data already residing in Redis today in a key value format for feature data, you can actually leverage Redis AI to actually bring inferencing capabilities much closer there, right? And so effectively you can maximize the computation throughput while adhering to that principle of data locality, right? And as we've talked to a number of developers and customers about being able to leverage this capability, what they've actually seen is they've further extended Redis to be able to be a model store, where you can actually store the model binaries, at the same time have metadata around the models as well too. But then as you tie monitoring capabilities, whether it's kind of open source monitoring capabilities or leveraging some of the providers that are in the ecosystem, you can really look at concept drift and data drift, right? And this is where Redis can actually be the store for evaluation data, right? And so if you think about performance metrics, being able to look at, model usage and those typical things that, as a data scientist you want to look at, such as drift, adding those capabilities can really enhance the overall offering, right? And so, we feel we're very early in this journey with understanding how we can really bring value to ML teams that are building, platforms for themselves. And we see this obviously across the three areas: the online feature store, the model store, the evaluation store, and then various actions that get taken place on top of these stores, from real-time calculations on the feature store itself, serving capability on the model store, and then finally, drift on the observability platform with the evaluation store, right? And so if you look at it, we've talked to a number of customers for why they're leveraging Redis as that online store. And it comes down to three things ultimately, right? They need a feature store that's live, that's fresh, and that's fast, right? And those capabilities are largely there. And while much of this is available in the open source, Redis Labs, we're custodians of the open source database. At the same time, we also have our commercial version called Redis Enterprise, which actually does address many of the operational pain points that customers go through as they hit scaling limits, right? So with Redis Enterprise, we do have some of those capabilities, which you can learn more about. I know I have a little time here, but we're really excited about this opportunity. If you have a machine learning project and you're leveraging Redis today, or want to learn more about how to leverage it as an online store, evaluation store, or model store, feel free to reach out to us. There's a link here which actually provides a lot of details, a lot of examples about how Redis AI can be leveraged, including some of the packages and integrations that we have with MLflow and a variety of other open source tools. So thank you for the time, and once again, I appreciate the time.